Hey, what's going on, guys? So today's officially day one of the half marathon plan, and I'll put a link down however you do it so that you guys can take a look at the plan that I'm using. Like I said, it's the Hal Higdon half marathon plan. It's novice 2, so it's a little more mileage than novice 1, obviously, and not quite as much as intermediate 1. And so the way I did it was my race is on a Saturday, so you have to kind of adjust the calendar a little bit to get it to work for Saturday, because he has it set up on a Sunday, because most of the big races happen on Sundays. At least that's what it seems. I don't know why they do that. There's probably some story as to why it's done that way, but mine's on a Saturday this year. So the way I switched it was I took everything that is normally done as a cross-training day. Those are almost all on Sundays. Long runs on Saturdays, cross-training on Saturdays, usually, I think, is the way it was. And I forget. But I had to move it around so that my cross-training day and my race day is on the Saturday, or my long run days are on Saturday, and my cross-training days are on Sundays. So I start my week with what is normally the end of the prior week. So the way it works out is I did 30 minutes on the bike today, and I did some of the physical therapy routine that I have from when I hurt my hip a couple years ago. So I'm still very protective of my hip. I'm constantly trying to figure out, how to do it without hurting my hip, because it seems like the 1 year I ramped up my mileage. I was really stupid about the way I went about it, but my mileage shot up dramatically, and I ended up hurting my hip with just some tendonitis, and went to the doctor, and doctor tried telling me it was some other diagnosis, and that basically, the way my bones are structured, I gotta just hang up my running shoes and start riding a bike or something like that, was what he was telling me. And I was like, what? I mean, that doesn't even make sense. I looked up, it's called coxa-vara, and it has to do with the way the angle of the femoral head meets your hip. And nothing I could find in regards to that type of bone structure has anything to do with, that I could find in sports medicine. It's all about that diagnosis in children and recognizing it in toddlers. And nothing to do with any sports medicine diagnoses that I could find anyway. And so I was just like, well, screw it. That has nothing to do with what's going on here. It's tendonitis, and so it rears its ugly head every once in a while, and it gets sore, and I have different routines that I use to keep an eye on it. So one of the things I did today as part of my cross training day were some of those physical therapy routines to build up some of those muscles. So you want your butt to be strong, your gluteus maximus muscles to be strong. As a runner, you really want those to be strong. They're a weak point for a lot of runners, and apparently can lead to a lot of injuries. So squats and lunges and things like that you can do to strengthen your butt, make you a little bit stronger in that area. And some of the hip flexor muscles, some of the balancing muscles. So there's some lunge type exercises you can do, along with lateral side to side motions, and a lot of it just with bands, that you can just strengthen those muscles. And you feel, as a guy, that was all about pushing heavy weights around in the weight room as a football player. You're doing all these exercises with these bands. It's like, how can this be doing anything? But they're all support balancing muscles that, they're designed in a different way than your big muscles in your legs for doing squats and things like that. So, especially when they're hurt, and the tendons are a weak point for you, you gotta kind of be delicate with how you rehab them. So do some of that stuff today. Gonna swim in the pool a little bit, and it's gonna be fun. I snuck out today in between feeder bands. We're on the edge of this tropical storm or hurricane that's coming through, And we got some feeder bands this morning, and the clouds are whipping around pretty quickly here. So I had an opportunity to get out on the bike and do 30 minutes, and I did. So I jumped out, just have a mountain bike, a Trek that I got when Darlene and I were engaged. She bought it for me as an engagement present, and it's probably the best money we've ever spent as far as like, at the time we had like no money, and we spent money on a good bike because I had like a Walmart special, you know, and it was a hunk of crap. And we went to a bicycle shop in town in Lake Mary where we lived at the time, and spent good money on a good bike. And I mean, as soon as I got on the thing, I was like, this is how bikes are supposed to feel, you know, like the guy fit me on a bicycle. The first time ever in my life I was fit on a bicycle, and got the right size bike, and it's, you know, it's been around a long time now. So I love that bike, and I don't put enough mileage on it, but just a little mountain bike. You know, I'm not a street bike kind of guy. Not going to be zipping in and out of traffic. So we have a nice bike trail here. You go, you know, off the sidewalk, on the streets, through the rain gutters, everything, and I don't worry about it, you know, like you would with a street bike hitting all those bumps. So I just zip around, get my 30 minutes in, came back, and gonna get rolling here. So this week is low mileage. If you look at this plan, it's really a low mileage plan, and this is like I've said, maybe not in this format, but I'm not a high mileage kind of guy. I'm not an everyday runner. I'm not going to be some run streak guy that is like, you know, 50 years old and has run every single day for the last 30 years. That's, you know, that's not who I am. I go through streaks where I'm really gung-ho and I want to run a lot and I get a lot of mileage in. And then there's times, like I was saying last episode, where I take an entire month off. You know, after every half marathon I've done, I've at least taken 3 or 4 weeks off where I haven't even wanted to look at my running shoes. And that's just the type of runner I am. So, you know, there's no delusions here. I'm not going to sit here and say I'm some high mileage professional runner. Like I said, I'm a guy trying to figure it all out, you know, trying to have some fun. And I know a lot of us are. A lot of us are trying to figure out how to get the mileage in, how to balance between our home life, our work life, our staying in shape, our things we're motivated about. And, you know, that's what you'll see when you look at that plan that I have. I think I was talking last time about wanting to bump it up to the intermediate plan, and it just seemed like too high of a jump for me. I've been pretty steady as far as mileage, but I don't want to go from where I was to nearly double that mileage the month before I start my plan, and then double that mileage again. You know, I'm not looking to double 2 months in a row. And that's where I was looking at. I'm going, for me, you know, 80 miles in a month is a lot for me. And like I said, I don't do a lot of long runs. I do 3 mile, 4 mile, 5 mile runs. That's my bread and butter. So when I get to half marathon plan, when you start mixing in, the first week you got 5 mile runs, the next week is, you know, 6, 7, 8. You're working up obviously to the half marathon distance. When you start getting into those 9, 10, 11 mile weeks where you have those runs, those are high mileage weeks for me, because I normally don't do long runs like that. If I run 4 days a week, I might get 12 miles that week, maybe 14. You know, I might do a 4 mile run and 3 mile runs or something like that. So I'm not usually, because of where I live in Florida, for me to do an 8 mile run in the heat here, in the humidity here, I can't do it. And I know part of that is me, and part of that is where I live, and part of it's an excuse, but that is the reality of the type of runner I am. So, you know, the run plan that I picked matches me better than what I attempted last time. Last time I attempted the intermediate there's 2 types. I believe it was Hal Higdon last time I tried. One was for speed and one was distance. and I wanted to mix in speed to kind of work on my 5K a little bit, kind of double dip, you know, kind of improve my 5K, which I did last year. I had a personal best 5K in the Stephen Siller run that I did. So, excuse me, for that purpose, it worked. It did what it needed to do. But again, because of my own mess up with the plan and the injury I had right before the race, it didn't work out for the half marathon. So this time around, I looked at both of the plans, lined them up to the mileage I've done basically for the last 7 months, and the Novice 2 really met the needs, or rather matched what I have been doing, and it wasn't a drastic jump for me to go from 30 miles in a month to 50 miles in July to probably 70, I think, and then it goes like 70, 80, 80 or something like that. So, you know, some of you marathon guys out there and girls out there and triathletes, that's not a lot of mileage. But for me, it's about, you know, protecting my hip. I have a blue collar type job where I have to climb up on a roof to do an inspection of a house. I can't run a half marathon on Saturday and not be able to work on Monday. So that's kind of where my head's at too. You know, I'd love to be able to just be gung-ho and if I get hurt, so what? I got 6 months to recover. That's just not the case, you know, and I'm sure that's not the case for a lot of you. So that's kind of how I picked this plan, and I'll put the link to it so that you guys can take a look at it. Hal Higdon has a lot of different plans, 5Ks, marathons, half marathons, and he's one of the big plans. When you look up 5K plan, his plans always come up. So something to take a look at that I'm using. And I also wanted to mention real quick, I finished reading a book this week. It's by a Japanese novelist. It's called What I Talk About When I Talk About Running. It's a memoir he did. So he's a novelist by trade, and he wrote a memoir about his running and his writing, and he does some triathlons as well. So it was a really fun little quick read. I was actually at my in-laws' house on the other coast of Florida, and when they bought the house, it came furnished and a lot of books were there on the shelves. And I asked my mother-in-law, I said, hey, can I steal this book? She's like, yeah, of course, take it. And so I read it, and it was fun. It was a fun little read about what he thinks about when he's running, what motivates him when he's running. And it's a really fun little thing. If you guys ever get a chance to read it and you're into running, you can tell he's a novelist by trade. He does a really good job of painting the picture and telling the stories that he comes across. He did it kind of in sections. Each chapter was you know, when he sat down to write, you know, almost like, kind of like a short essay. It was kind of a collection of essays that he did over the course of 2 years. About memories or about training for the New York City Marathon he was doing, things like that. It was a fun little read, and if you're interested in it, check it out. What I talk about when I talk about running, and you'll enjoy it. I think you will if you enjoy running and good writing. So other than that, I appreciate you guys again. This is week 1, day 1 of week 1 of training. This is probably how I'll do it from here on out. I'll give you each week, I'll let you know what's upcoming. And next week, obviously, I'll talk about the prior week, how I feel, how the mileage was. Obviously, this first week is pretty light, and I'm okay with that. You know, I'm gonna get into it. We're gonna have some fun, talk about some odds and ends here and there. So next time I had planned to do this before I got all sweaty. But like I said, I had that window to run out in between feeder bands here, and I'm sweaty. I'm sorry. What can I say? I was gonna do one where I wasn't so sweaty and dripping sweat all over the place, but I took advantage of it and decided to knock out this video before I jumped in the pool. So the other thing I wanted to mention is SpaceX just landed the crew capsule in the Gulf of Mexico. We sent our 2 astronauts up to the International Space Station. They spent, I think it was 2 months up there, and 19 or so hours ago, they disconnected from the space station and started their journey back home. And let's see, about 40 minutes ago, they splashed down in the Gulf of Mexico. They got home safe. Everything appears to have gone smoothly. So unbelievable, just absolutely amazing that what SpaceX has been able to do and how they're partnering with NASA to get our astronauts to and from the space station with American-made rockets again is just incredible. We don't have to rely on other countries to do it. We don't have to pay other countries to do it. SpaceX has just done amazing things, and I can, luckily, I'll flip the camera here real quick. I can't now. So over this house, where this, yeah, right over here is the Cape. So if it's a clear day, when a rocket goes off, we can just walk out in the front yard and watch it take off. And we can hear, it's a delay. It's like maybe like a 4-minute delay, 5-minute delay, where you can see it streak across the sky. And you go in the house and then you hear boom, 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 boom. You hear the thunder of the rocket. It's incredible. We live in such we're so lucky to live in a great spot, close to the beach and close to the Cape, that we get to see those things. So just an incredible day for space history and the United States and NASA and SpaceX. Just absolutely wonderful, and lucky to have been able to watch it on the live feed on their Twitter. And it's just incredible, and absolutely incredible. What else can you say? So anyway, thanks again for tuning in. I'll see you again next Sunday. I'll let you know how my week went, let you know what the next week looks like. I'll put up that plan. Maybe I'll even take a picture of how I adjusted it for mine. The race is October 24th. So I was guessing at the date last week when we talked, but it's actually October 24th. So love you guys. Thanks again for tuning in and support me and giving me all your love. It really means a lot to me. So I will talk to you next week, guys. See you.